What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? You're tuned in to the ArrowHead Chief Podcast, episode 167, Miami Dolphins versus Kansas City Chiefs recap, and we're going to preview the Buffalo Bills game, the divisional round game. Hope everybody's having a good Tuesday afternoon. We also got a special guest on. We're going to go ahead and introduce him after we do the intro. So let's talk Chiefs.
Yeah, Arrowhead Chiefs. It's your girl, Miss Nicole. Queen of Hustle, baby. Started from the bottom, now we here. My homie at the start of his career. Let's go. Try to win him early, hear the truth. Tune in every Sunday for the juice. Arrowhead Chiefs podcast, bringing all the news. If you missed the play, come back for reviews. Good style. Out here rapping for the crew. Post game highlights, go subscribe on YouTube. If you missed the play, come back for reviews. Post game highlights, go subscribe on YouTube.
And we are back, Arrowhead Chief Podcast, episode 167, Miami Dolphins versus Kansas City Chiefs recap. Hope everybody's having a good Tuesday afternoon. DJ Ant, how you doing, man?
Oh, just another day out here in the valley, but basically for us, just business as usual. On to the divisional, business as usual.
Right.
That's all we can say. That's the Kansas City language, right? After the wild card, business as usual.
Right. And we got a special guest, host of the Chief Wire and USA Today SMG, writer, Ed Easton Jr. What's going on, Ed? How you doing, man?
How's it going, guys? Happy to be here.
Good. Thanks you for coming on once again. We had you on last year, man, so it's always good to have you on, man. All right, fellas, let's go ahead and talk about it. Kansas City Chiefs beat the Dolphins 26-7. Patrick Mahomes had a pretty decent, solid day. 262, a touchdown. Pacheco had 24 carries, 89 yards, and a touchdown. The top was Rashid Rice with 130 yards, 8 catches, and a touchdown. And Trav backed him up with I want to say 7 catches and 71 yards. This game pretty much went about how I thought it was going to go. The defense held his end of the bargain. I didn't think that the Dolphins would be able to play in that cold weather, and it showed. Tua couldn't play it. He couldn't really throw the football in there. They couldn't run the football at all. And the defense just shut them down pretty much. Other than that one throw to Tyreek Hill, it was pretty much lock and key with the defense on all phases. They played, excellent. Offensively, yes, you would like them to convert some of those touchdowns in the red zone. I felt like the block in the back was kind of a, ticky-tacky call. I felt like Jawan Taylor got pushed into the player, and even if he didn't, the guy was well behind the play for Rashid Rice to even be affected by it. So I feel like he should have had another touchdown, but you do want them to convert, especially in these divisional rounds against Buffalo. And if we move on to whoever we move on to in the next round, you're going to have to convert those into touchdowns and not settle for field goals. But we did enough to win the game. So I'm going to start with you, Ed. What were your thoughts on the game?
Well, it's definitely a lot of what you were saying. And just even the point on the Jawan Taylor penalty, I think it's because he had built such a reputation, over the season with all the different penalties he's been called for. I think he was number one for a while. And it's just something that the referees are going to be looking at him for every little thing. He's going to get picked on. We saw this from the opening night. So I kind of saw that as a reason for the penalty. And, I don't know, moving forward with Jawan, how are they going to – because they've been saying this all season. How are they going to coach him so that these little issues, these little knick-knack penalties don't keep coming up? Because referees, they do have their eyes on him. In regards to just the way the defense played, it's been said all season that the defense is the reason why they're in this position. If the defense doesn't play anywhere close to what they played this season, I don't know if they win the AFC West. You got to look at a couple of games this season where I would say maybe 3 or 4 games could have gone either way. And if the defense doesn't make plays, if they don't make big stops, I keep thinking back to that game against Minnesota. If they don't make stops at the end of that game, I just don't think the offense had enough to win it. So it's like little things like that, just a reminder of how important defense is and how essential Steve Spagnuolo's job and what he's done to pretty much revamp. You're working with all these young players. This is the youngest defensive unit in the league, and they've all
Right.
stepped up. So many have Super Bowl experience now, and you saw
Hmm.
what they did against a high-powered offense. And I know people are going to be saying, "Oh, Tua's never won in the cold. He's only played in warm weather," but he's still a top-tier quarterback. And then you're dealing with quite possibly the best wide receiver in the league
Right.
with a grudge to an extent. I mean, he did get a
Mm-hmm.
touchdown, but he does have a grudge because he didn't get the money from Kansas City, and they had to make a trade in order for him to get paid. So all those factors, knowing that you're the target at home, freezing conditions, and yet the defense stepped up as usual. So that was my main takeaway from that. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes and what he did with the offense. That first drive set the tone. They went out there, they went right down the field and scored, and I think it set the tone for what this team can do when everything is pretty much clicking together and everybody's talking. Because I feel like the communication, if you watch this game, there wasn't a lot of different audible changes. It was seems like people were on the same page. I know I saw some comments of people saying maybe Kadarius Toney not being there helps out the wide receiver core. I don't really agree with that. I think that's a little, that's a little unfair to say that.
Yeah.
G. Rice is the primary target at the wide receiver position. I think no one can argue that.
No.
It just he knows what to do. Him and Patrick have great chemistry, and he makes it a lot easier. You're seeing now the opposite of what you saw earlier in the year, where it was a lot of okay, Kelsey's going to get double teamed. Let's see who else we can get open. Now Rasheed Rice, because of what he's done over the last couple of weeks, you're seeing more openings for Kelsey to get the ball now. There's sort of a little bit of a shift. A lot of the plays they ran to Kelsey were just, okay, let's just try to get the ball in his hands and make something happen. He's not running the same usual routes he ran last year. So you're seeing the growth. You're also seeing Isaiah Pacheco, who has been the heartbeat of that offense the entire year.
Right.
How effective he's been in between the tackles. It's more like it's torture trying to tackle him. The
Yeah.
defense doesn't want to do that. So that's
Especially in that cold weather.
Oh no, definitely. That's what they were banking on. They were banking on that big time. You don't want to get below freezing. So just seeing what Isaiah Pacheco's become and the way this offense has continued to grow. I know Matt Nagy's taking a lot of heat, but he did make the right adjustments heading into this game.
Yeah, I agree. What you got, DJ Ant?
As far as the execution, I like more of the balance attack. It looked like a more of a balanced approach where you saw a Joseph Pacheco. Obviously, we saw Rice step up. You even saw some of the other players and some of our fans aren't too fond of and everything. But it was nice to see MVS get a touch and get himself involved. Even with Watson, he got himself involved. I mean, outside of that one touchdown, was of course, it was in trick play fashion. It wasn't in traditional fashion. It still worked out. Pacheco got the job done. It could have been another touchdown thrown in there. It's like we're talking about officiating because that blown hold call that was in the secondary, which is absolutely horrible. So it's like it comes to
Yeah, for
show
sure.
you can even make an argument to that point as far as what the officiating is actually paying attention to. Obviously, with Jawan Taylor being under the microscope. But I mean, the Dolphins didn't do anything that was overly overwhelming or surprising. They were who we thought we were. It's funny is that another TV analyst talking about, basically, while other teams like to fight, they like to break dance. That's exactly what it was. A whole bunch of flash, but that same flash didn't work in the cold, and that's
Yeah.
just part of the way that the playoff season, how it alludes to and how it is. The defense was stellar. We saw what an all pro corner should look like. I'm gonna repeat that. All pro corner should look like.
Yeah.
Shout out to the one that should have been on the list was getting torched all Sunday night.
Yeah.
But overall, though, as far as with the Chiefs, I think and we got to get used to this fashion for the Chiefs winning. As far as with the defense really being on the up there, we're so used to the offense, but the defense, they had the best defense all weekend amongst all the other teams. And
What's
even
going
with
on?
the six that they got and everything, like you said, it was an underthrown ball. And even so, the way that it was designed for Tyreek Hill and everything, for Tyreek Hill, you cannot let a man like that kind of get a head start. And he took advantage of that motion, and he basically, you're talking about a guy that's the fastest guy in the league, and he just takes off right now. It was a tough ass, but After that, McDuffie shut the whole thing down. He was making plays, he was making stops. He put a hit on him. I'm like, I'll put that in the highlight reel. But
Right.
overall, everybody executed to the level to where he was even better than they basically made a mark on it. I mean, you could say they won by 19 and everything, and how they execute. I always worry about those rematch kind of games because sometimes it's harder for a team that win to learn from those mistakes. But for the Chiefs, they actually enhanced it and they made it better. They didn't take their foot off the gas. They stayed with it. I'll probably say the red zone is still a little bit of a challenge and everything, but considering the elements and then whatnot, I mean, you saw, for example, Patrick Mahomes getting his helmet cracked and everything. I mean, that's
Right.
just a testament how cold it really was out there. You got people trying to drink frozen beer out there. So for the Kansas City, they took advantage of home field. They did what they had to do. They took care of business. Everybody came out healthy.
So
That was the other concern that I had. So you got to make sure that as many of these players come out healthy as far as in these cold environments, and they got the W, and it's on to the next. And the beauty of it that now, with that, before we even kind of touch on it, now you get a couple of days of rest with the advantage, obviously, with another winter thing going up there. It's payback time. That's all I can say about that.
I do,
yeah,
I do,
I agree, man. Go ahead. Ed.
oh, I'm sorry. I do want to jump in and just say, MVS, obviously, the drops and the lack of production that you saw, that is going to stand out. And, everyone's looking at the contract, how much money he's making. I will say this. I did have a chance to speak with him one-on-one earlier in the season. And one of the things that he was always kind of like sticking on, and you really have to think about it, what he does behind the scenes with the young receivers, with the guys like a Rasheed Rice and helping them along the way, it is invaluable experience. I'm not saying that should, help validate the contract, but he is a big part of why Rasheed Rice is able to pick it up as quickly as he's been picking it up. You got to look at the little things he's done. And I know they showed in our replays where he sets little picks, like unofficial picks, on plays.
Mhm.
I think he's like the only receiver you see doing that. So he takes a lot of sacrifices when it comes to that. He's not making the big plays that he made last year because a big thing with him was the big like 60-yard play, 50-yard play. That was his calling card last season and this time in Green Bay. So they just haven't had that. There has been some talks maybe because of the whole offensive tackle situation not being great. Maybe Mahomes is not getting enough time. There's always these back and forth in regards to what's changed. I've heard the Eric Bieniemy comments. Maybe because Eric Bieniemy's not there. It's always a variety of things, but I do think it's tough to just say it's only MVS is the reason why the receivers aren't playing well, and he's a big part of why Rasheed Rice is where he's at now.
I respect that and all, Ed, but
That's
I don't make no bones on how I feel about MVS. Like at the end of the day, you gotta catch the football, my brother. And there was some opportunities where he fumbled the bag. You make it, at the end of the day, he's making $11 million. We don't and look, kudos to him. If he's the reason why Rasheed Rice knows the playbook a lot more now when it's playoff time, hey, kudos to MVS. He's a great teacher and all that, but we need him to produce on the field when Pat calls his number. Now, look, it isn't always on MVS. Sometimes Pat can't miss him, and for whatever reason, him and Pat have never really got on the same page when it comes to those deep shots. Like even going back to last year, he would always overshoot him, or because he's so used to throwing it to Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill is just world class speed. You could just throw it down there, and he's gonna go get it. There's nothing too far for Tyreek Hill. So that adjustment of throwing it to somebody who's fast, but he's just not Tyreek Hill fast. But this season going because at least last year, MVS made plays here and there in the game. I'm thinking back to the San Francisco game, which was probably his best game of the season last year. Him and Juju, that was their best game of the season. But this year, we haven't had not one game like that. Like not even one, not even against Chicago, not against the Chargers, like not the first time against the Raiders, like none of them, like not even the bad team. So I hear you, Ed, and like I said, I know a lot goes into preparing to be as far as getting yourself ready for a game and all that stuff. But still, MVS, they pay you to catch the football, my man. And there are some times when he just came up short. No,
even
we're not, Joe. Joe, we're not. Come back,
try
Joe.
to give some insight on that.
and even so though, because even in the game they did take a deep shot in his heart and toward him in MVS in that game, and even so there was another play they took another shot at Harmon as well, but it wasn't the first time. It looked like they were a little bit off and out of sync as well too, because I don't even think, I'm not sure if he was even Harmon was even expecting the ball or he couldn't track the ball. I couldn't tell. It was a situation where it happened in this recent game, but I mean, that just comes to shows like, they got to come with a new style, a new way to be able to win these games, especially with the receivers that they have.
Well, shout out to D-Mac on Tell the Truth podcast. He showed a stat on the pod, and he basically said that Arrowhead is like the hardest place to catch deep balls from. I don't know, it's because of the lights or whatever, but they said that they have the most drop passes when it comes to deep shots down the field. So
yeah,
I guess I still feel like Harmon and even McCole. I feel like McCole kind of pulled up on some of them routes. I'm like, what are you doing, man?
There was a miscommunication a couple times during that.
Yeah.
Noticed he saw reaction. Yeah.
It's just I
it's
don't
been
know. Like the first one
between
like
that and not getting enough.
Yeah, the first one he pulled up. Even the one where he got the flag, he like pulled his arms back. Like I think that was the one that Chris Jones was cussing him out about. Like, what are you doing? Like, at least lay out for the ball, because a lot of times the ref ain't gonna throw the flag if you don't at least lay out for it. Like, so I don't know.
Spent a lot of time in New York, so you had to shake those habits.
Yeah, I guess.
And he been out substantial time too during the trade. So like I said, it's all part of repetition and time on the field. They still get that together, but they got to do it with a quickness. We're in the playoffs. We here.
Yeah, but one thing, bro,
I'm sorry if I'm turning the audience. I apologize.
I'm not tripping.
Yes, hey, I spoke to the guy. That's what he was talking about. So,
Joe, we not tripping on here, man. We know they drop passes. You know me, Joe. I talk about it every time we get on this show, especially MVS. So, but no, they do still have to. At the end of the day, they still have to use those guys because MVS and McCole Hardman are their best deep threats. So they have to continue to use them because they have to threaten the defense. If the defense don't respect the deep shot, then they're going to put 8 in the box and try to stop Pacheco and dare Patrick Mahomes, which is crazy in itself, but dare Patrick Mahomes to throw the football down the field. And I would like them to do more with Rashee Rice down the field. I understand he's the guy who sits in the zones like Juju did last year, but just 1 or 2 shots because they've done it before and he's caught the ball. So I wouldn't mind them taking a couple deep shots. I know he's not a blazer per se, but he is a good 50-50 ball guy. So, and that was one of his strengths coming into the season. So, yeah, I would like to see that.
I believe the wild card in all cards is Kadarius Toney, his health situation. I know people have been down on him the whole season, but he's once again, he's another guy that can do a lot of different things. You saw him take plays out of the backfield. He can run the slot. You can do a lot of different things with him. Yes, the mistakes are what everybody's going to point at. And, his mistake obviously being offsides is why the Chiefs are on the road for this game. So these are different things that people are going to bring up. But when he's right, he's a tough guy to try to match up with on defense. So I look at a guy like him and even McCole Hardman stepping up. So, having Rashee Rice be the guy for the deep threats, you don't necessarily need it. You have, like I said, Hardman, great speed. We keep forgetting how fast McCole Hardman is. Like,
no, he's fast.
You got to utilize it, and that's the best way to see it. And you saw a little bit of it during that game against the Chargers. If anybody watched, I know the game didn't matter.
I did. Yeah.
You saw some of it. So it's
yes.
Yeah.
One thing I did like about what Hardman they're making the change about is that you're not seeing him doing this jet sweep action with him. You're actually seeing him running routes down the field, and that's a plus. That's going to be able to help get some of these other receivers open, even himself too.
I still want to see some of that from Miko though. That's what he was great at He's probably our best jet sweep guy. But I would like to still see some of that into the offense. The creativity of Andy Reid. He knows how to use those to affect the defense, especially coming into this weekend. We're gonna need some of that room dressing. And if he's the ring sneeze, he better not. God, me, Joe. We go. That's a good
Give him.
segue, Joe, because I want to talk about the Jerry Sneed, man. He was excellent on Saturday, man. And he's been excellent all season. He got snubbed in the Pro Bowl, even though we don't care about the Pro Bowl. Those guys care about the Pro Bowl when they negotiating contracts. That looks good on paper for them. It may not look good as far as the game goes, because now it's a flag football game, but it looks good on paper as a resume. I'm a Pro Bowler and I'm an All Pro, and he should have been both. What's his name? Deron Bland. You saw what happened to Deron Bland on Sunday, and he's been getting
Barbecue
like that
chicken.
all season. Deron Bland has been getting cooked because he got he fell into 7 interceptions on bad teams. By the way, he did it on all bad teams. It wasn't like he did it on good teams. He did it on bad teams, and he gets an All Pro because he has gaudy stats. That interceptions and sacks are the most. They're not overrated, but they can be inflated. Because a dude can get about
Absolutely.
4 or 5 sacks here and there and look like he got about 20 sacks in one season. Like, nah, he got about 7 of them against his bad team. So I'm just saying.
But that's
But Harrison, he should have been All Pro, man.
And that's the argument. That's a fair argument. And the thing that makes it tough, if you're someone that's voting for these different awards, and you got to look at the stats do matter when it comes to it.
Mm-hmm.
You also have to look at the efficiency of the team. And obviously, the Chiefs defense took a huge step forward. But then you got to look at the position and how many players at his position are, you look at the penalties. L'Jarius Sneed, he had a lot of penalties. That doesn't really matter in the game when we're thinking about, what he's doing to actually affect winning, which he is doing because he's going against the best receiver each game. He's shutting him down for the most part, but he is committing penalties. That's something that we have to also admit. Every game he commits at least, one here and there penalty that we may forget. So you got to look at the other cornerbacks in his category. They may not have that, and they may have the takeaways. So that's what they're really banking on. That's it. We know, look, as fans and people that cover the game or even play the game, they know who's a baller and who's not. But you also can't discredit the people that don't have the penalties, but also do have the stats, and they have comparable, sort of numbers when it comes to coverages, deflections, and things of that nature. You just can't ignore it. So that's part of the reason. We know L'Jarius Sneed is a top-tier Pro Bowl, All-Pro cornerback. But when they start breaking down the numbers, they start breaking down the percentages and all these different things, this is how it happens. This is how you get Trent McDuffie on an All-Pro team, but not a Pro Bowl. It just things like that. It comes off as weird, but this is how the numbers break down.
No, I hear you.
And even historically, how they look at teams too. I mean, they always look at Chiefs supposed to be the offensive juggernaut. That's just how the history has been over the last 5 years, ever since Mahomes stepped foot on as a starter. Don't nobody. I mean, they talked about a little bit here and there as far as with the Chiefs and their defense and how it's gotten them better. How they went from in the middle of the average to great. But their main focus of it, though, is like as far as with the average fan, is that their offense isn't performing and everything. But at the end of the day, the defense is just as important. So I get both sides of the coin. I mean, yeah, they were penalized and they weren't getting nearly as many turnovers, but still, the defense, though, they're not looking at from even the number of times the defense had to bail out the offense with the number of turnovers that they gave. Because if they actually pay attention to some of the numbers where they were actually giving up threes instead of sixes, which easily could have been the situation. That's really been it. Really is a testament to how this defense is, and they had multiple sack getters up, double-digit sack getters in Chris Jones and Karlaftis. And Karlaftis is one of those players that nobody really talk about either. And people don't talk about Boltons. They're not aware about that, but they'll sure talk about everybody that's on the Ravens or the 49ers because that's the standard. So until the Chiefs get that respect, I believe, and they'll have to go far, and it may not be able to truly get it. Truth be told, I think they would get it if they were to beat the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. If they
Yeah.
perform to the defensive caliber that they have been, they will earn it.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, I agree because I still think the national media is still waiting for the other shoe to drop on the defense. I don't know what it is, but I just think that they're waiting for they gave up 40. See, I told you they're frauds. Like, and it's like, how many games do they got to show that they're actually a very good defense, even great defense? Because like we said, the defense has been holding their end of the bargain all season. That a lot of those games we lost, they kept us in those games. You know what I'm saying? When the
Hmm.
offense was going through the drops and the penalties and the red zone inefficiencies, the defense would turn right around and make a stop and get the ball back to the offense, and then the offense wouldn't cash in. So um,
You can
at
make an
this point,
argument that points allowed column is actually inflated too if you really think about it
yeah, yeah,
easily.
yeah. Yeah, most definitely. Because you think about the Green Bay game, even though in the beginning Green Bay was getting us, but in the second half they made adjustments and they had opportunities. Now we can argue the MVS pass interference play probably would have made a difference, and we probably would have won that game, or the Eagles game, or any game that the Buffalo Bills game, like any game that you think of in the second half, the Chiefs defense, even if in the beginning they was giving up plays here and there, they made adjustments, and next thing you know it, the other team's offense isn't doing what they were doing in the first quarter. So we got to give Spags, we got to give this defense, some type of flowers because they've been doing it all season. So
Hmm.
and DJ Ant made mentioned somebody, George Karlaftis. Now, when we drafted George Karlaftis, a lot of people, there was mixed bag. Some people liked the pick, some people didn't like the pick. They wanted other guys. But shout out to Joe Cullen and the development of George Karlaftis, because this man right here has from year one to year two has made tremendous strides. You could tell he's worked hard on his craft. He worked with Tom Ali. The work that Frank Clark, him and Frank were very close last year. Frank would work with him after the game. I'm sure Chris Jones would give him some stuff. Like the kid has worked on his craft, and this year, 10 and a half sacks. There hasn't been enough you can say about George Carlisle. He's been great. He was great in the game against the Dolphins. Like, he was consistently getting pressure, and you just got to give a shout out to Spaz and Joe Cullen for the work that they've done with George Karlaftis, man.
Oh, definitely. And one of my favorite things about him is he's still focused on getting better.
Mm-hmm.
It's only his second season, and all he talks about. If you ever heard any interview he's done, any press conference he's done, he's always talking about getting better. Even when people are saying, "Hey, you got 2 sacks this game," he's like, "Oh, well, I could have been better on this." He's always focused on how he could take his game to another level. And when you get that from a young player, he understands the system. And if you remember a lot last year, he started to come on towards the middle of the year, where he started to get a lot more playing time and put a lot more pressure on the quarterback. He's
Mm-hmm.
growing like throughout training camp. You saw him being involved with every part of the defense. It wasn't just him worried about the defensive line. He was worried about how everybody was aligned, how the offensive line was going to set up against him. The little
Mm-hmm.
details that they picked up from training camp, taking it all the way through the regular season, and you get 10 sacks in your second year, and they
Mm-hmm.
start talking about you as a Pro Bowl, possibility and maybe a snub. That just shows what he believes in terms of this system. Like, Spagnuolo already loves him, and how he fits alongside a guy like a Chris Jones and Omenihu, who I think a lot of people are not talking about what he's done in a short
Yeah,
period of time. I mean, he missed the first 6 games
most
of the year, and he jumped right in and became one of our best defensive linemen. So the
mm-hmm.
money they paid for him in the offseason is paid off, and he
Right,
was working good. So you're talking about the work he's done in the run game, stopping the run, and he has a couple of sacks. So
right,
I think that you got to look at what Brett Veach over the offseason. A lot of people are going to jump down on him for what he's done with the wide receivers, but on defense, he handled everything that needed to be done. What needed to be addressed on
right.
defense, he addressed it, and you're seeing the fruits of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I agree. I agree, most definitely. Ed, we got a question down here for you. He said, Joe said, you've been in the locker room. What's the pulse of retirement talk with Andy Reid and Travis Kelsey?
Well, I could definitely tell you they're not thinking retirement. That's not a thing. Just last week, they brought it up to Andy Reid in the presser, and he was saying, because, obviously with Belichick, we don't know if he's coming back or not. Most likely he's going to keep coaching. But the Pete Carroll situation, Nick Saban, Andy Reid has no intentions of retiring anytime soon. He's shown no intentions of it. Sometimes when you get guys that have been doing it for a long time, you're going to hear them talk about maybe I'm not, you're going to hear these talks about maybe they want to look at life afterwards and all that. Travis Kelce
Mm-hmm.
was kind of mentioning that. There was I think, a Wall Street Journal article about it. He came out and said that he's has a lot of football left in him. He's enjoying his time playing. And when guys are openly saying, "Hey, they're coming back," and obviously his brother is pretty much done, so
Yeah.
more talk is going to be around Travis and what he's interested in doing. But he knows he has stuff in the future lined up. You see him doing his hostings and obviously the podcast. He's in no rush to retire, so that's nothing to worry about. Kelsey's as focused as he's always been. And
Okay.
it's just another way of proving that he's not focused on retiring. Him sitting out that last game of the year when you can get another 1,000-yard season shows that he's about the team. And if he was thinking
Right.
about retiring, he was going to play that game to get that 1,000
Right.
yards.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Because it would have been a send off. It would have been kind of a send off. Yeah. Right.
exactly. So those guys will be back. That's nothing to worry about.
Yeah. I didn't think that, Andy Reid. I think Andy, um, it'd probably take like a couple Super Bowls maybe for him to really start thinking about retirement. But I think he's having fun, especially coaching Patrick Mahomes. Like, like as long as you got Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback, like I don't see him going away no time soon. As far as Trav goes, I think it would have to be a major drop off for Kelsey to be like, all right, it's time for me to go. Like he would have to be like 400 yards in the season, and he's just uh, not even an asset, to the team or whatever. Like it, as much as he didn't get 1,000 yards, he still had 900. And he missed the game. So, and he was hurt this season with the hyperextended knee and the ankle.
Yeah.
So,
He's still hurt. The thing is, he's still hurt. He's been playing hurt all season.
yeah.
Yep.
And he wants to go out there. He still wants to be a part of every play. Even when they try to take him out during the game, he's fighting to go back in. So it's,
Mm-hmm.
but the guy's still fighting to want to play. There's no interest in retiring anytime soon. So he'll be back. So there's nothing to worry about that.
Yeah.
You said that about Trav, though. It's like as far as like, you question if he's healthy. You still even question if he's healthy even to this point because like when you're this far into the season, typically nobody's really 100% at all. That's
No.
just called for what it is. And as many, I'm gonna call it mileage as you've been playing in the last 5 years. They've been playing in January, February, going this deep into the playoffs for like the last 7, 8, 9 years. Call for what it is because they keep winning division after division after division and getting to the Super Bowl. I mean, they're basically getting to three Super Bowls in the span of 4 years. That's tough to do already as it is. And then that's all a lot of wear and tear. And obviously, I think with this year, there's a lot of frustration that's boiling over, and it was different as far as for them having to deal with some of the challenges they have. Not getting the offense going is in the way that they're used to, and it's a challenge for them. But I didn't believe it was in a position where he wanted to retire yet. Maybe I would say maybe 1 or 2 more years, but I mean, for as long as he's playing everything, we're going to enjoy it for what it is. But the Chiefs, I mean, that's a job for Beats to get done to recognize and see.
Yeah, and hopefully this offseason he recognizes like, yeah, Travis Kelsey is hurt, and he's playing hurt, and he probably has taken a little step back. You know what I'm saying? He's not the speed or the athleticism isn't as there as it used to be or whatever, but he's still an effective tight end receiving tight end. But I think they should start moving towards the future and you've invested with Rasheed Rice. It's yet to be seen with Sky Moore, but you invested with Rasheed Rice. Hopefully, you get a receiver next year, a veteran or somebody in the draft, and you start moving towards the youth movement, and just let Travis Kelce kind of be the second guy, the second option. You know what I'm saying? Start putting into a actual number one wide receiver, because we're never gonna get another Travis Kelce. As much as people like Brock Bowers and some of these other tight ends, and even Sam Laporta, who's a really good tight end this year, it's hard to duplicate what Travis Kelce has done. Like, to me, he's, shout out to Tony Gonzalez, but I still think Trav is the greatest tight end I've ever seen. Do it year in and year out to put the numbers that he's put up is amazing. So
I do want to
right.
throw this there.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to throw it real quick. Kadarius Toney's still very young.
Yeah.
I know people are saying, he's, drops and the injuries. He's still very young, and he's been hurt all season. This training camp.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to look at him as a development project. You got to develop him some more. So we can't just give up on him. Sky Moore's another situation where I think you got to give him one more year.
Yeah.
Because there's something in him that Andy Reid loves, Patrick Mahomes loves. Because if they didn't want him, he would have been out of town a long time ago.
Right.
So there's something there. I don't think we need to rush for wide receiver. Tight end, Noah Gray. I know some people are like, mixed feelings about him. He can play. The guy, he's not Travis Kelce. I think that's the problem. You look at him, you say, oh, well, he's not Travis Kelce. But you compare him to other tight ends in the league, he compares to a bunch of starters right now. So I don't want to say give up on him right away. Then you had the whole Jody Fortson injury. So there's a lot of different things that you have to take into account when you say, we got to make a move. We got to look for this. I think running back and offensive tackle would probably be what I would check out in the draft, because they need another running back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, we don't know what's going on. McKinnon is up there in age. He may be somebody you look at retiring. So
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind them would I love for them to go get one of these top tier receivers that's coming out? Because this is a loaded wide receiver draft coming out. But would I like them to get somebody, if maybe a Romeo Dunza falls? I don't think he's gonna fall, but if he falls, or one of those receivers from Texas wants to fall to a high lap, I'll take that. But
then you do it. But if he's not, you stick with what you got.
Yeah. But I wouldn't mind them because MVS is probably going to be gone next year unless he just takes an extreme pay cut. I think he's out the building. So I would like them to get a veteran wide receiver, at least a veteran guy who can get open on his own. You know what I'm saying? Somebody like that. I wouldn't mind that.
Well, then you have the question of, do you pay a veteran wide receiver who's going to want top tier money, and then you got to pay Chris Jones, you got to pay L'Jarius Sneed. So what are you sacrificing here? You still need.
Well, that's a good question, because I want to talk about Chris Jones. It's a good question. I want to talk about Chris Jones, because I mean, me, DJ, Ed, Clarence, Ty, we've all talked about, and everybody who's come on the show, we all talk about Chris Jones. But I want to get your thoughts. You in the locker room, you hear rumblings and stuff. What are your thoughts? Do you think that there's a chance that Chris Jones could stay in Kansas City?
You know what? Chris Jones might be the toughest one, because we saw how serious he is about getting paid just by him sitting out all of training camp, all of preseason, and then showing up to the first game of the year but sitting in the stands. He's serious about getting paid. We even saw that in the last game of the year. He played the last game for that $1 million, for that bonus.
Yeah, he earned it.
So he earned it. He's earned the opportunity to get paid. So it makes it a little tough. He loves Kansas City, loves the culture, he loves the team, but he's in the business of getting paid right now. He's he's getting up there. He's been in the league a couple of years. You want to make sure you're financially secure. So it's going to be a tough one. I honestly think it's a 50-50 chance that the Chiefs can keep him. It depends on what Brett Veach is going to value in the free agency market. And I think L'Jarius Sneed is somebody you have to put a priority on.
Yeah.
So you look at your cornerback situation, and then if you think about it, if you take Chris Jones out, we saw a preview of that during the first game of the year. Are the Chiefs? Is the Chiefs defense that effective? They were still good against Detroit, but will they be as effective without him? So it's these different things, and he's a tough one to call because he sends a lot of subliminal messages, whether it's in a press conference, during his interviews, or social media. Yeah. You never know what Chris Jones is thinking. So, and I think respects to him because he likes to keep people guessing, and that's what we're going to keep doing until he signs a contract. We're going to keep guessing.
Yeah, that's more than fair because even so with Chris Jones, you don't know. I mean, I don't think this defense is what it is without him. Let's just call it for what it is. The defensive line, the different things he's able to do and open up for people like Karl Loftus and even with Amenahue. It's like there's just certain things that just do not happen. It's gonna be tough. I mean, would I be sad if he's not in the Chief uniform? Sure, I would be. I mean, just hopefully he's not in the same division if that's the case. That's the only thing I would say. Like that's somebody you just want on your team. It's like he's definitely the voice of that defense. I mean, he just knows how to move that team. He's just a guy you don't want to see lose. It's a guy you just definitely don't want to see losing. I'm just saying, and here's another scenario to throw out there too. I mean, say the Chiefs do happen to run the table, and I think this would can come back and haunt him. It's like because they didn't get it done last year. So now he's going to see that his value is going to be a lot more if they were to run back-to-back championships. So that's part of the cost of what happens if you don't take care of business when you should have or could have. But that's
true
for the all season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a scenario where they pay Chris Jones and they franchise tag L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, and that's the cheaper route because the franchise and tagging Chris Jones, woo, that's a hefty price, right?
You don't want to do that.
No, that's a hefty price.
And the fact, I mean, the kind of bright side of L'Jarius Sneed not being listed as all pro, technically he could have argued that, but we know as far as the value that he's been to the Chiefs, so behind the scenes, we all know that and stuff like that. But people are going to use the argument, and it's funny they were actually showing a replay of the Chiefs and Cincinnati game in place of it was on Sunday morning, and with him being out, but still, it's like you just cannot miss out on that with somebody with L'Jarius Sneed. L'Jarius Sneed put on a jam on Tyreek Hill that just went absolutely viral, and this is exactly why you want to like, despite the penalties and stuff like that. But I always appreciate people like that. Like, those are the people that you need in your locker room. What Joe saying?
I think it might have been Joe earlier.
Joe said he's going to be next to Max Crosby.
Yeah, I saw that one. And I don't know if you could work that in Madden. It's like things that have to happen. Yeah. So I think the other thing that with Chris Jones, like I said, he's going to want to be the highest paid defensive tackle. That's what people got to understand.
Yeah.
You saw the contract that Quentin Williams got. He's going to want to get paid. So you got to be realistic if you're a fan and understand who's available. What are you going to do if you pay Chris Jones all this money? Who can you not pay? That's what it's going to become. Who can you not pay? So it's that type of thing. Tyreek Hill. Did we think Tyreek Hill was going to leave? You saw how quick that happened?
Yeah. That
was crazy.
I remember that. Yeah, that day was.
Everybody was in panic mode that day. But I'm like, when you saw the return on it, you're like, this may actually not be bad because you get opportunity to get younger and all that stuff, and it worked out.
It's kind of a mixed thing because it's like, dang, Tyreek Hill's gone, but we wouldn't have this defense if we didn't make that trade.
Correct.
So.
But you look at it, people said he was coming back. They said there's no way. They just, they won a Super Bowl not too long ago. Why would he leave? Chris Jones, he's in that same type of boat. I saw, I think that show that had the comment saying that, well, they let him play that game for his incentive. That's just business. That has nothing to do with personal. Yeah. That has nothing to do with, he's to be loyal to the team. That's business. That's him saying, I want to get paid. That's like you going to work and they're saying you have to work an X amount of days to get this, That's just what it is. That's going to work.
I do think it was a good morale, though. as far as Brett, because
Yeah.
I don't think it's personal between Brett Veach and Chris Jones. I do genuinely think that they, they're cool and they like each other. I just think, like you said, it was just business. You know what I'm saying, in the beginning of the season, and Chris Jones just wanted his money. But I do think Brett Veach genuine, because I there have been instances where guys can meet their incentives and the coach be like, nah, or the front office be like, nah, we ain't paying you that.
I don't know if you guys remember.
We ain't gotta pay. We ain't gotta pay you that. We ain't gonna pay you that. But
I don't know if you guys.
I thought it was in good favor.
Oh no, he definitely was. He cares deeply about him. They text a lot. I don't know if that's something that you guys know.
Yeah.
One of the things when Chris signed the deal just for this year, they made sure to waive all the penalties and all the fines that he got from the NFL for not showing up for training camp.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys realize that? Not a lot of
That's
franchises
good.
do that.
Yeah,
No,
that's tough.
So there's a lot
Wow.
of
Yeah, we've all voiced our displeasure with his representation. I call them the Maloof brothers, but the Katz brothers. I voiced my displeasure with his agents, but you know what I'm saying. Hopefully, we can get something done before March. If not, then maybe they can get something for him, because I don't want him to just walk out the building and be a damn Raider.
Right. I'm just saying,
So,
like the value that for Chris Jones to get 1.25 million off of making a sack, and you got other players having to get like Jordan Love getting 500,000 from winning the game. That just comes to show the value in the way that contract was structured.
yeah,
But
for
I'm glad he
sure.
got his money though.
I do too. All right, fellas, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes. First game on the road this weekend, Sunday night in Orchard Park against Josh Allen, his arch nemesis. I guess you can call him his arch. I mean, you got to beat you in the playoffs, I guess, to be an arch nemesis. But one of his arch nemesis, I guess Joe Burrow's the other one. But how are you guys feeling? I will start with you, Ed. Patrick Mahomes' first road.
Well, that's going to be the headline of every publication. How's Patrick Mahomes going to play in his first road game? It's his second time playing in Buffalo, but this time he has fans, so that's going to be different for him. And playing in Buffalo, just in particular, is a different challenge in itself. Yes, the weather's the weather, but they played in cold weather in Kansas City. The fans there are very aggressive. It's going to be a different type of loud especially every time the Chiefs are on offense. It's going to be a different type of loud, because the complaint from Bills fans and from people who, support the Bills, or just Bills Mafia, I should say, is that they didn't have a chance to have a home game. So now they have this chance to have a home game. They've always used the home field advantage as the reason why they came up short in those two playoff games. That's been something that's been said out there. And they have a right to say that, because Arrowhead Stadium is a different type of loud.
Yeah.
The players, I believe it was Dawson Knox who said one time that because it was so loud, they were kind of just reading lips. They couldn't hear each other in the huddle. So you got to keep those things in perspective. And I do think it'll be interesting to see how Patrick reacts to all the different pressure he's going to get, not just from the Buffalo defense, which has stepped up, but you got a raucous crowd. And like I said, Bills Mafia will be in full force. I think Patrick is ready for this type of moment, because he wants to silence any doubters that believe that he can only win at Arrowhead Stadium or a neutral site. Now, I'm going to argue and say that the Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was a road game. But when you look at this game here in Buffalo, a Bills team, a city that's been, well, just Buffalo in general has been begging for any type of success. This is like their Super Bowl right here. So that's the way, if you're Patrick Mahomes, you got to look at it that way, that Buffalo is looking at this game as their Super Bowl. Because they feel like they can get past Kansas City, then they're going all the way.
Yeah, I agree. What's your thoughts, DJ Ant?
Even their whole idea, as far as with them being a home game, I guess they kind of like. I mean, one thing about Bills fan, this absolutely annoys me sometimes. They're not as annoying as some other fan bases, but even
Cincinnati.
so, situationally, nobody asked them to disappear against Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody asked for them to choke a couple years ago against the Jaguars. Remember when Josh Allen owned Josh Allen? That was the one game
Mm-hmm.
they could have had at home, but they don't like talking about this stuff. They always want to call it irrelevant, but let's just call it for what it is. Do I agree? Playoff atmosphere, it's a different kind of energy, different kind of. Absolutely, I do agree with that. However, if you it's just far as like what I've seen, just even with Patrick Mahomes and just, like usually with these Chiefs offenses or just the Chiefs team in general, Pat Mahomes has tendencies more. He's more actually more effective on the road than he is at home.
Yeah.
It's just statistically, even if you look at some of the stats and everything, I believe a lot more of his numbers are up in general. So I don't think that's going to. I don't think it's going to be affect people as. I don't think it's going to be as effective as what people think because you're going through. You've been doing this for the last 5 seasons and everything. Obviously, the playoff atmosphere is going to be different. As far as like, even with the matchups, injuries, and all that stuff, that's going to be. You got to account for that. We can talk about the one. I don't believe a game is decided by one mistake. We can point out all kinds of mistakes that happen throughout their game. We can talk about the offsides all we want to, but there were a couple other knickknacks we can nitpick at and whatnot and everything.
Mahomes interception
Even
in the end zone. Yeah.
we can talk about all that stuff. And even so, if like you want to spin it and play like the Vegas game and stuff like that, there's a reason why the number is what it is. 3, 2.5. Typically get an automatic three when you're at home. So basically, let's just call it for what it is. They don't know who's gonna win this game. People are more likely to
Yeah.
pick the Bills
They don't.
because simply because of home field advantage. That's just for what it is. Um, Going into this, I'm not really concerned about the defense. I think the defense is going to execute and do what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I said, the wild card for me, just looking at this, there's two groups I'm looking at. Obviously, with the receiver group, will they be able to have the success or even more success? Because they're going to have to get some more help to Rasheed Rice and Travis Kelsey does have to improve. I will say that. But Jawan Taylor is going to be under the microscope, I believe, this week more than any other player. Because when you're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with those rushes and everything, you're going to have the Von Millers and even the Ed Olivers and stuff like that. That's where you're going to be looking at. The battle's going to be in the trenches. Will they be able to get Pacheco to like, who didn't play in the earlier season game? And even so, you can even throw the linebacker out there if you want to talk about the other side as well. Drew Tranquil, I don't think he played because I think that was a game after he got the concussion. And if you
Mm-hmm.
want to throw in one extra factor, the Chiefs didn't have that week. The Buffalo had a week of rest. The Chiefs will have a
That's
2 day advantage. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a big difference.
it is a
So
big
I mean,
difference.
we can dice it up and chop it up, and the Chiefs have been playing under the schedule where they've had these shorter days of rest. That's how it's been all year. So let's cancel that out and just call for what it is. This is going to be one
It's a
good game.
record. They said it's a record. No team has had less rest like the Chiefs had this season, which
And even so, the Chiefs they've been
get my
under more
conspiracy theory hat
opposition.
on.
I would
But
say.
whatever.
But even so, with the realistically with the Chiefs, so you look at their schedules, the way they've been set up for the last 2 seasons. I mean, come on now. I mean, short rest this year. Last year they were going to get all playoff teams with the first 8, 9.
Yeah,
So
right.
and then they're talking about they're just handing them games stuff like that. I'm like, no, it ain't been the case. It is for what it is.
No.
You want to talk about teams that have been handed games and everything. I'm more so looking at the NFC and how they choke, in the NFC East and how they choke. But that's a whole different subject. So the Chiefs are going to have their work cut out for them. I mean, do I think they can rise? Do I believe they can rise to rise to the challenge? Absolutely, especially with this defense because they got the best defense I would say remaining that's left over. I'm
Yeah,
just that confident that they'll get it done.
I agree. I agree. This, like I said, man, this is add to the legacy of Patrick Mahomes. He gets his first
Hmm.
road win against Josh Allen. Um, then there's nothing else you can say about Patrick Mahomes, because this is the quote unquote one knock that they have on Mahomes is that he's never had a road game on the playoffs. Well, here we are. And if he goes into Archer Park in a hostile environment where the crowd is going to be loud, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, that whole team is going to be pumped up, amped because they want to get their first playoff win. They want to knock Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs off to get to the AFC Championship game. And if they can do that, then the narrative will be, well, Patrick Mahomes has to be home, which is stupid because how many years is the Tom Brady was home? Like, let's just call it for what it is. I mean, his division was terrible, just like our division is terrible, and he was shooing to get home field advantage. But They don't talk about that. But like I said, but on the other side, if Mahomes goes in there and rips the heart out of Bills Mafia, that's just gonna add to his legacy, man. And there's nothing else you can say. There's no other knock you can say about Patrick Mahomes, even if you tried. The national media can't talk about it. They can't say nothing. They will say Patrick Mahomes went into Orchard Park and beat Josh Allen. Like I said, it would just add to the legacy.
I will
It's
say
almost
that.
as worse as them losing
So,
4 straight Super Bowls. Almost just as bad, if you ask my opinion.
Wow. Well, I
yeah,
will say that.
true.
I will say this. You brought up the Tom Brady point, which is a very good point. That they've always had home field, and that was always the thing. You have to go through Foxborough in order to go to the Super Bowl. And Peyton Manning,
Mm-hmm.
when he finally got home field advantage, he took care of
Yeah.
it. So I
He
think
did.
the
He
Bill
did.
and Josh Allen supporters are using that as a template, saying that okay, now we have home field. Let's see
Yeah.
where we could. So
Yeah, I agree. I agree. No doubt about it. It's not gonna be easy. It's definitely not gonna be easy. But let's stick on just Buffalo as a team. Let's say they do lose on Sunday night. Does what does this mean for Buffalo now? Where do they go from here? Do they say, you know what, Sean McDermott is not the answer? We need somebody to take us to that next level. Do they keep Sean McDermott? Um, I'm pretty for sure. I don't think Stephon Diggs is going to be there next year. Personally, it was just too much noise with Stephon Diggs. His production went down this year. I think he wants out of Buffalo, um, so I don't think he's going to be there. But wasn't they got a lot of contracts that are like they got to get off the books? Von Miller, there's a few other guys, the Micah Hydes, the Poyers, like those guys are getting older. Like, what do you think is next for Buffalo after this?
well, based off how they've been playing the last couple of games, this winning streak, they're basically the hottest team in football. I think they know and they understand that this group, the way they're constructed, if they don't win, they're basically going to be broken up. The only person that you can see staying is Josh Allen. That's the only person that's a guarantee. And then it's just building around him. They know it's important. They need to win this game. There's so many moving pieces. You brought up Stephon Diggs and his displeasure with the offense, and if you remember, they changed offensive coordinators about mid-season.
Mm-hmm.
So
Started their winning streak.
that started a winning streak. So we don't know if behind the scenes maybe that was the remedy. Maybe that's what they needed. We don't know if they're able to patch things up. I
Right.
look at it from the outside as this is a team that's had what last 4 years where they've been like right there but not there. That they need to win it. It's a must win for them. I think McDermott may stick around another year. I don't think he
hmm
will go right afterwards, but Stephon Diggs could be somebody that's on his way out. Von Miller, I think would be out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to be some more changes. They got to do whatever they can in terms of money, who they can keep, who they can't keep. I just look at it as they're going all in. This game is all in. That's why I say it's going to be such an interesting battle. And I know there's a lot of fans listening. You got to keep that in your mind. It's not just going to be about how talented they are. It's going to be the desire and how hard they're going to go on the field. You're going to see it. That crowd is going to be crazy loud because they didn't play
Yeah,
that
it
great
is.
against Pittsburgh,
No, they did not. They
and they
did not.
still were
I
able
mean,
to.
Pitts, they they haven't been playing well. Let's just call it for what it is. And this is what bothers me about how they've been hyping it up and everything. They did not play well against the Chargers. They did not play well, and even if Pittsburgh. When this, and that's what I was talking about before the show, you cannot spot a team like Buffalo that thrives on it 21 points to open the game. You cannot do that. And the crazy part about it was Pittsburgh was getting close at, like toward that third, fourth quarter. I think they got within the score, and then they gave it up. I just
mhm.
think part of that, obviously with TJ Watt being out and all this stuff, they just didn't have a chance. It was called for what it. And sometimes they got some home cooking calls because I felt Pickens did have a right to get mad on some of those calls. But you just can't. I mean, Buffalo has not been playing overly dominant. I mean, it's selective dominance. This is called for what it is. That's just the way they've been playing. I mean, they barely got by even in the midst of their winning streaks. They're not overly dominant. That's why it is what it is with Buffalo. It's I'm sorry. That's why they have Buffalo and Kansas City neck and neck. They could arguably say that whoever wins this game is probably more likely, even if the Ravens, they take care of business as well on the other side.
But isn't that what makes them dangerous? Because they have
Mm,
this where it's all or nothing. So they're
Yeah.
fighting for these
mm-hmm,
games they should have lost. There was
Hmm.
a couple of games. That game against the Chiefs, they should have lost that game.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Hmm.
They're finding ways
Yeah.
to win. Teams like that get hot and win Super Bowls because they find ways to win and they realize it's all or nothing. I look back at the going back like the Giants team that '07 team that beat the Patriots.
Hmm.
That was not a
Yeah,
Hmm.
good roster. That was a team that was in disarray. Coach is going to be fired, all this type of stuff. But they knew if we're going to stick together, we got to win it right now. So it's
mm-hmm.
a team like that is very dangerous. You got to throw out a lot of the traditional stats and how this person matches up. Both of these
Right.
teams know each other.
Yeah, they do.
So
Hmm.
it's that's why I say it's such a tough game to call because they're all in. They have to win this year. They know it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Let's talk about the other game real quick. Um, you got the Houston Texans versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens have been rested for about 2 weeks now, and the first time that they were, which was the Chiefs' first Super Bowl run, um, the Ravens had rest. Now, I think the difference between that year and this year was that Lamar Jackson was not healthy whatsoever. Mark Andrews was not healthy whatsoever. Their defense was not as good as this defense is this year. Um, they're getting Mark Andrews back. You got Odell Beckham, who's starting to look a little bit like the Rams. Odell Beckham. Zay Flowers is a budding star in the making. Um, and like I said, Roquan Smith and that defense, they're just rolling. And then you got the young kid and CJ Stroud, who's going to be the perennial rookie of the year. DeMarco Ryans, I argued that the Cleveland game is what who chose who's going to be the coach of the year. They were fighting for that.
Yeah.
And I think D'Amico Ryans is going to get that. Wow, he beat Cleveland. How do you feel about that game, Ed?
It's gonna be a lot of fun. You're gonna
Mm-hmm.
see because they're gonna be comparing C.J. Stroud with Lamar Jackson. You know it's gonna happen,
Mm-hmm.
but their styles are very different. But people are gonna want to say, oh, he's gonna be like this player and all that. C.J. Stroud, if you watch him in the pocket, the decisions he's making for a rookie, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's, it's crazy. He looks very calm, very collected. He never looks rattled. And when you see rookie quarterbacks, regardless of where they're drafted, there's an adjustment, there's a learning curve in terms of the speed of the game. He seems like he was ready for this moment last year. So I look at a guy like that, and you can't use the whole he's a rookie thing and he's going into a hostile environment. I think he's going to be up for the challenge, and I'm not calling an upset because Baltimore is
Mm-hmm.
a very good team, and
Mm-hmm.
I think they have enough veterans and young players that they know how to balance it out. So I take Baltimore because Lamar Jackson's the MVP. He is
Right.
the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is a game
I
where he
agree.
can put his stamp on it to like really
Mm-hmm.
remind people like I'm the MVP because for a guy that's had such a great season, we've heard so many other players that go, oh, maybe Dak Prescott's the MVP, maybe Christian McCaffrey's
Right.
the MVP. You
Mm-hmm.
maybe just the last couple of weeks of the season, we started hearing Lamar Jackson as the MVP.
Yeah.
I think a game like this against CJ Stroud, who everyone's in love with right now, and they have great reason to be, would just solidify it even more and just
Yeah.
remind people that he is more than just a scrambling quarterback. He can make plays in the pocket. He does whatever it takes for his team to win. Because I think that's the thing that everyone wants to know. Is he a winner? So I
Yeah.
think he proves it in this game.
Yeah. I agree with you. I actually have Baltimore winning this game. I just think Houston, like when they're at home, they play differently. When they're in that dome and that crowd is behind them, and they're excited for CJ Stroud. I just think they play a little differently. I honestly think that, and look, kudos for them for doing what they did to Cleveland. If that game was in Cleveland, I think that game would be a lot closer because Cleveland just plays better when they're at home. Um, so I do think that Houston is not going to play. I mean, I'd be surprised if they put up 40 or even 30 against Baltimore. But if they do it, then it's like, oh, you know what I'm saying? That you got to watch out for Houston. Houston reminds me of the 2018 Chiefs, where they were that young team with the new quarterback. he's blowing up the spot. He's doing, Patrick Mahomes was blowing up the spot. The defense was cool. I think their defense is a little bit better than ours because our defense was like historically bad that year. But just a young star at quarterback, he's taking the league by storm. And then they run into the juggernaut, even though, we probably should have won that game against New England. But this day young team that they're just one step away. And then next year, they're talking about Houston after they added a few pieces. They get Tank Dell back, maybe add something to that defense, you know what I'm saying? And we're talking about the Texans maybe Super Bowl contenders next year. So I just think they're a year away, maybe. So I kind of look at them like that. And I just think that the Ravens, there's too much pressure on Lamar Jackson. He's got his contract, the money. He's getting an MVP, his second one. And he's probably going to be the unanimous MVP this year. Again, like he was his first year. And they're the 1 seed. They're at home. You got the weapons that everybody claim you ain't get. You got receivers. You got the defense. This year to do it. Because if you don't do it this year, and the Chiefs are not as quote unquote good as they've been in years past, especially offensively. Defensively, we've gotten better, but offensively, we've taken a step back. So if you don't do it this year, everybody's going to get better, including the Chiefs, are going to get better next year. So you better do it now. When the Chiefs are down, no Bengals is in the playoffs. Like none of the quote unquote top tier teams besides Buffalo and the Chiefs. This year, Ravens, the red carpet is rolled out for y'all to go to the Super Bowl. So he's got to take care of business this weekend. He's definitely got to take care of business this week. Or the knock on Lamar Jackson will be kind of like the knock on Peyton Manning was before he got his first Super Bowl, was that he can't get it done in the postseason. He's a regular season quarterback, but he's not Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? Tom Brady gets it done in the playoffs. Tom Brady in the beginning, he didn't have all the gaudy stats and the numbers like Peyton Manning did. But when it came down to the playoffs, tunnel vision, we here to win by any means necessary. I don't care if the defense got to win the game for me. And in the fourth quarter, I just make a couple of throws and win the game, or I got to put the team on my back. And that's going to be the knock on Lamar Jackson. So he's going to have to knock that off of his resume. So what's your thoughts, DJ?
I'm not even gonna look that far. I mean, I'm gonna say three simple points. This is actually a rematch from week 1. And I remember watching this game because even so, I was like, okay, this is actually a pretty good test. He's like his first game actually be having to going into he was going into Baltimore in that game to go play him. And they played him quite close, and then it got away from him in the second half. It's called for what it is. Number two, I'm not sure how this Ravens team is going to play off of a bye week. Some teams need the bye week. Some teams they do not thrive when they have a bye week. We've seen that. We've seen that a number of times with different teams historically, with them included, Tennessee and stuff like that. We don't know. Do I trust the defensive experience? Obviously, with Baltimore, absolutely. But one thing about it, this is my third point, was C.J. Stroud and how he's emerged and how he's performed as a quarterback. And this is why I had him. And why he should have been in MVP conversations. And they were talking about Purdy and everything. And this is why I said the difference between Purdy and somebody like C.J. Stroud. Purdy does not respond well when in situations of adversity. If the one piece goes away, he just absolutely disappears. When we saw McCaffrey go down, he started to disappear. When he lost Debo, he really disappeared. When he lost his left tackle, that's when that losing streak hit. You got to take in consideration at one point when, especially when Tank Dell went down, I thought their season was done for.
Me too.
And for them to execute, for them to execute that the way that they have done, and this is testament to why I believe they have the coach of the year, for them to rally, and as bad as that team was before, stuff like that, and for them to get to this point, I would not knock this being a close game at all by any means, because they're familiar with this. Like we talking about all these revenge games over there, with Buffalo and Kansas City, and I'm telling you, I would not be surprised if revenge was served in one of these games, if not both. I think it's going to be that kind of weekend again.
Yeah, because Houston, the one thing they got on their side is that C.J. Stroud and them, they ain't scared. They're not scared. They going in there confident, and
Yep.
morale is high. They just put 45 on the Cleveland. Don't get twisted. That Cleveland defense is really good, really good.
Hmm.
So they put 40 on them, and it's like their confidence is at a all time high. They don't. If you don't think they can't score on this Ravens defense, then you're delusional because Nico Collins is playing out of his mind. He was wide open like the whole game. Like I don't think it was a Cleveland Brown in the vicinity of Nico Collins. I don't know how a man gets so wide open, but he was getting open. Him and Dalton Schultz was just wide open. So I agree with
And for-
DJ, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close game, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they kind of like hit that wall and boom, Ravens just handle business.
they,
I do
they
want to.
should, but that's part of my concern with the Ravens because I think if not all their losses is because they decided to have a meltdown late in the second half. I remember them
Yeah.
playing the Browns and they had the advantage. I thought the game was over, and then I turned it back on. I'm like, what in the world happened? So they got to have that. The difference between I think the next step for the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson is they got to have that killer instinct mentality. If they don't have it, one of these teams is gonna sneak in and steal it from them.
Yeah, if you're the Texans, you got to get up early on them. You got to make them
Yep.
chase you. You got to
Yep.
make them chase you.
I agree. I do want to say real quick, Chris, what you were saying about C.J. Stroud and comparing them to the 2018 Chiefs. One of the best things that you got to look at, and also the scary thing if you're in the AFC, C.J. Stroud's doing this as a true rookie. Mahomes,
Yep.
Yeah,
he sat
you're right.
out.
You're right. You're right. You're
He
right.
played that last game, and he had a whole year to learn behind Alex Smith, learn
Mhm,
the system.
mhm.
C.J. Stroud is thrown right out there into the fire. So imagine
Hmm.
all the confidence, all the experience that he's getting this year. It's going to be
Yeah,
scary moving
yeah.
forward.
Oh yeah, most definitely. You know next year they're gonna put CJ Stroud versus Mahomes. You know that's gonna be
That might be
that's
opening
gonna
night.
be prime time. Sunday night football, Monday night football, or Thursday. But
Gotta be.
no, Houston's got a crazy opportunity this weekend to upset the vaunted Baltimore Ravens, like I said, because right now Baltimore is the best team in the league, especially what they did to the 49ers a few weeks ago. That was my measuring stick. If they went in there and beat San Francisco, and they went in there and they smacked San Francisco around. Um, this is their game. They should win this game. They should win this game. But we'll
Supposed
see.
to. I'm gonna leave it there.
All right, Ed. Before I get you out of here, man, who you got winning? Chiefs, Buffalo Bills.
Man, this is such a tough one, and I'm actually going to throw this out here. I think the Chiefs pull it out,
Mm,
but I'm assuming it's going to be a field goal in overtime.
okay.
Mm.
That type of
Okay.
situation. They're both going to have the ball in overtime, and it's going to come down to a bucket field goal.
Nice. Hey, I'll take the W. I don't care how we get it. I don't care. The defense holds them. We win 3-0. Like, let's get out of here and get to the AFC Championship game. 37-17, good guys. Jesus.
Do you want a score, or should I give you a score?
If you want to, you can give me a score.
Let's go 27-24. Let's do that.
Okay. I like it. I like that. I like that. I'll save my scores for Friday when we preview. We actually get in depth with the game and all that stuff. I'm gonna give you all my bullets right now. I can't do that. But all right, Ed, man, I appreciate you coming on the show again, man. We definitely got to do this again. Maybe we'll bring you back on for the AFC Championship game or something like that, man. Super Bowl or something. But I appreciate you coming on, man, giving us your time, bro.
Definitely. Thank you guys. It's amazing.
Right on, man. All right, man. Another show in the books, Ed.
That's it. Another day in the books.
Did you put in did you put any money on anything last weekend?
Nah, no one taking no chances. I had no idea what to expect. I just want to sit back and enjoy. I mean, you had no idea what was gonna be like in that freezer bowl and stuff like that. But I mean, I saw yours. I'm like, that was actually really good. You called them, you
Yeah, I
called them,
won.
them overs. But
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
Green Bay went in there and punched that team in the mouth. I had nothing but laughs from Dallas fans. It was a fun
The
weekend
Ram,
though. I'll say that it was a fun weekend.
the Rams game messed me up. I thought the Rams was gonna go in there and win. They should have won. Actually, let's just be honest. No disrespect to
Yeah,
Detroit. They should have won. They didn't
yeah,
execute in the red zone. That was their problem. They could not execute
yep.
in the red zone. Can't kick field goals and expect to win the game, man.
If you would told me we would have seen a matchup between Detroit and Tampa Bay in September, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah, for real.
So this
For real.
the fact that one of those teams gonna be representing the NFC championship, that's hilarious to me.
No, what's funny is that the year after Tom Brady retires, Tampa Bay makes it back to the NFC Championship.
Hmm. I don't know. I just think going into Detroit though. I
Oh,
just
you
think
would never
Detroit
tell
on a
you
roll.
if you would have told me that a year ago. I told you you was crazy. I said Tampa Bay gonna be picking in the top 5 next year. That's what they're gonna be picking in,
Hmm.
especially with Baker Mayfield as a quarterback.
Yep.
But hey, shout out to Baker. He played really good yesterday. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can't say nothing. He handled his
He
business,
deserved
man.
he deserved his money. I ain't mad at him.
He does deserve his money.
Yep.
All right, man. Let's go ahead and land this thing. Let's give a shout out to one of our sponsors, betus.com, where the games begin. Go there, sign up, put in join 125, and you get a 125% signing bonus. That's 30 risk-free bets towards any bet, sports betting. They got online casino playing too. So go to our Twitter page at the top pin, click on the our direct link and sign up, man. Shout out to Bet Us. And gotta give a shout out to Glitch Energy Drink. Hold on. Glitch Energy Drink offers a wide range of delicious flavors to suit everyone's taste preferences, whether you're into fruity flavors like Maui Punch and Cherry Bomb, or prefer something unique like Blue Smurf and Grenades. There's something for everyone. Glitch Energy Drink is not only great for gamers and workout warriors, but also for everyday people who simply need a boost of energy. It's a healthy choice that you can feel good about. You can find more information and purchase Glitch Energy Drink at glitchenergy.com. Once again, glitchenergy.com. Remember to use the promo code AHChiefPod. Get 10% off your purchase and start enjoying the benefits of the delicious and energizing drink. Also, if you look down at the bottom, you'll see the link emqpodcast.com/locker-room. If you go to that link, you'll see the locker room access of all the podcasts that's under the Every Morning Quarterback umbrella. They got a 49ers one, they got a Patriots one, they got a Jets one, and they also got ours. Arrowhead Chief Podcast. Click on the banner. You'll see all of our episodes from the recent ones to the past ones. So follow us. Also, if you're a first time watcher on YouTube or on Facebook, go to the YouTube channel, hit that subscription button, hit that like button, and hit that notification button so you'll get notified when we go live every Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time and every Fridays at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So go ahead and do that. And also check out their podcast at Every Morning Quarterback. They talk about everything league wide. They also talk about college football. And also they give you betting tips for the week. So shout out to Every Morning Quarterback. And whatever streaming platform that you use, whether it be Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, uh, whatever stream, iHeartRadio, whatever you use to listen to your podcast, Arrowhead Chief Podcast is on there. And whatever social media platform, whether it be Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, Twitch, whatever you use, you see that at the top above DJ and AH Chief Podcast. Go ahead and follow us. We'll follow you back because we are not Hollywood over here. Where you at, Joe? Earn your money, Joe. There you go, Joe. There you go. We Hollywood. So go ahead, follow us. We'll follow you back. And Hit us up. You got critiques, topics, things y'all want us to talk about with the Chiefs. Hit us up, man. We want to hear from you. Just come at us nice and normal. Don't yelling at us or cussing us out, talking bad about us. Come at us, like normal human beings, and we'll shout you out and possibly answer your question or bring your question or topic on the show. So
Yeah, maybe.
go ahead and maybe. No, but no, but for real, go ahead, follow us and interact with us on social media. We
Someone on the
interact back.
phone.
So.
All right.
All right, Chief Keenum. Until Friday, we go.